So I'm here today with Miss Anna Dennis. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
No, I'm glad you made the time. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait to get to know you better.
Same.
All right, Anna. So I do obviously you're an actress. Where are you based out of?
San Francisco, specifically like Brisbane, California, which is literally 2 blocks from San Francisco. So yes.
Oh, we just had another guest recently. You'll probably hear the podcast before yours. His name is John Carlson. He's been in the industry for a few decades, and he lives right there in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Nice. Nice.
It was interesting because I never really knew I'm sure there's actors in every town, no doubt about it, but I don't I guess how would you describe sort of the film industry in the San Francisco Bay Area?
Well, it's not like Los Angeles or New York, obviously, but it's always a big deal when you find that people are shooting films here. And then when you're seeing movies, you see like, oh my goodness, part of that was filmed in San Francisco, or there's a street that I recognize. For example, I think it was it John Wick? There was a part of a movie recently, right before the pandemic, that was filmed in San Francisco, and it was literally everything was set up in front of my office building. So that was like a big deal. So I think it's becoming more and more prevalent that you see filming in San Francisco, but I don't think it'll ever, be like Los Angeles. That LA is its own vibe. So
I know here in the Hudson Valley area, in the state of New York, they actually increased the tax credit up to 40% with a certain budget if you come and film out of New York City and come just about an hour or 2 hours north and save 40% of your budget.
wow. Yeah.
San Francisco is probably going to get on that.
I'm sure someone's probably listening now, like, hey, it's a good idea.
Yeah, if New York can do it, anybody can do it.
Exactly.
I know you had the movie Planet of the Apes that was filmed in the San Francisco area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So many like lesser known films too, like, just that and I know some of them just kind of will pull in footage from San Francisco too. But actual filming where they've like shut the streets down. I mean, it's a big deal in San Francisco when it happens. It's not very often, but it happens, and it's pretty exciting.
But didn't they shoot Family Matters in San Francisco?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, but that was like, that was a series or a show, but I mean like the big budget movies, like
big ones.
Yeah.
Couple hundred.
That's so long ago, but that house is still known for that. So.
Oh, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Would you know the name of the park across the street from their house?
I don't actually. Everyone thinks of like Golden Gate Park, but I don't know the name of that park, the actual name of it, but I know how to get there, but I don't know the name of it.
We'll have to shout out to Google. Thank you for, all the references and the Family Matters.
Right. Right. And we'll call it that, the Family Matters Park.
It probably has that name and nobody knows it. But how long have you been an actress now?
That's such a loose term in terms of me personally, because I don't feel like I'm an actress, but I feel like, so originally, let me back up. I think there's always been like this creative side to me. Like I've self-published books, and that's been about 18, 19 years ago. Yeah. And this most recent thing, and particularly kind of getting more into like movies, this really started with like voiceovers. And that was really what I wanted to do. I remember, my son and I, we were watching a show, and it was an animated film. And, now a lot of actors are getting into cartoons, and they're doing the voice of Kevin Hart. People are doing a lot of voiceovers for films, animated films. And I thought, gosh, I would really like to do that. I think I could do that. So joined backstage, just thinking about just different voiceover things. And my son actually, he's majoring in music technology. So he already had the studio hookup, right? So I could do these, record these voices and submit them for my audition. And
Right.
it really just has started to like really pick up. And literally, I would say over the past 6 months, like I've been with Backstage only since like October.
Okay.
No, actually September of 2022. And just over the past like 5, 6 months, have things really kind of start to like come in. So, literally just last night, and I forgive me if I have like bags under my eyes, but I shot all day a student film called Parole, where, I was kind of like, I'm picking up my girl who just did a 20-year bid, right?
Oh,
In a
man. Jeez.
Milpitas correction facility. So, we were shooting all day at different locations like this, in front of the correctional facility and then in front of this seedy motel in Milpitas. And so that literally was probably my first real intro to like what that looks like and doing all these different takes and how it can literally take like 4 or 5 hours for one scene. And, so that was exhilarating, exhausting, and exciting all at once. I mean, when I left there, I think we got on set at like 10 o'clock. I left at like 9 p.m. I was like done, but I was so excited, right? So, and to be able to see that whole thing come together, I mean, I can't wait. So, and then again, I recently got received like an opportunity to do a corporate training video, and I'm an extra in that
Oh,
for
good.
Meta, you know. Um,
Metaverse. Oh, Facebook.
yes. Yeah. So, and
Nice.
that's actually this week too, Thursday and Friday. So there's just, a lot of things coming up. And I have I'm contracted with Zoog, which is an kind of interactive children's book where you can literally, like, I'm reading and I'm recording chapters of the book, but there's like these animated things going off, like where I'm reading Winnie the Pooh, and there's, I have like a bear nose and, bear ears. So a lot of just different exciting things are just coming up. And so I know all of that is kind of part of the arts, if you will, and part of the culture, but it's really, again, over the past few months been really exciting. So I'm happy to see where it takes me and kind of the opportunities that I get as a result of it.
It's a small world because what did you say that was? What was it? Zoom or Zoom for the baby company?
Oh, Zoog, Zoog.
Zoog. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounded very similar to another company. It might have been called Vroom. But when my niece was born a few months later, she was actually sort of like the baby in a commercial for a developmental baby company, and they were doing interviews on moms. So my sister got in, and
Oh.
and they filmed that whole thing in my parents' kitchen. And I'm like, you're welcome.
Yeah. Right. Yes. No,
It's
this
just
is specifically books. This place is actually headquartered in Israel.
oh, all right. So what was it like when I was younger? We used to have like at the library on VHS like Munzie videos where you can learn how to read a little bit better. So they do something similar where it's about kids' education, word association with imagery.
It's I think really less focused on like education versus the concept of it was mostly like for parents and grandparents to like who don't live like close to their grandchildren to be able to have these videos recorded. They can even do it themselves, but it's very interactive. It makes like just kind of your regular bedtime reading story. It kind of takes it up a notch. And because now we so often are like reading books like that. I mean, you could take your phone or your iPad and you could read your child or grandchild this book, and it's just very interactive. It keeps, I think, their attention. But because there's something kind of bouncing over each word as you're speaking, that also does just kind of tie into like word association and better reading and comprehension for little kids. So.
Oh, that's dynamite.
Yeah.
So when it came to all the voiceover work, was there sort of like I don't want to say a preference because I'm sure as a just starting out actress, did uh did you ever feel like maybe it was more of a natural thing for you, or did you feel like after you're getting some experience, you might need additional training to continue?
You know, so that's a really good question. So for, I always kind of looked at it really simplistically. Like for me, I felt like, I'm a good reader, right? I can read. I don't really have a problem reading in front of people. And I know for a lot of people, like getting up at a podium and reading to an audience of people, it could be two people. That is fear, right? And for me, that was never a thing. I felt like confident in my ability to do that. And so that kind of lended itself to like if I would go and read at a bookstore, right? Read my book and I read a chapter of my book and then, talking to people about the characters and the chapters and so forth. So reading kind of was the premise for the voiceovers and just thinking, I can read, I can do that. The challenge becomes like bringing forth whatever that character is, like, being able to pivot and say, okay, they want this, or they want someone to be fearful. They want someone to be authoritative and demanding, or they want someone who's meek, but they want someone who's loving. And to be able to convey all of that through your voice is where it gets like, okay, this is not just about reading. This is about
Right.
really being able to bring these characters or whatever, convey the message, whatever it is, to the forefront. And that's kind of like even through like the auditions and having the right studio equipment, where you can make sure that you are really enhancing whatever it is that that particular audition requires.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at in the process. And I was reminded of that yesterday when I was on set. Like, we do these takes and, the director would say, hey, you know what? I need more intensity, or I need for you to look at the camera when you say this versus, or I need a side shot and I need your body to say that, we're going to do this without sound, right? We just need for you to literally show it in your body. And so, it really gives me a completely new respect for actors and actresses. Like, I think now, even after just last night's experience, looking at any movie, I'm going to look at that completely differently now because
I
I've
know,
been in that spot.
I know exactly. I know exactly that mindset because, like, I of course watch movies, cartoons, you name it, my whole life. After doing a play, I'm watching it now, and all of a sudden, not that I'm biased, but all of a sudden, it's like I found myself being a little bit more. I'm looking at it from a totally different lens now.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And I mean, much respect because I'm like, this is hard. I mean, I see now why it takes, a week to film a 30-minute sitcom, right? I mean, the angles and even like I mentioned, I mean, I'm driving up, in this film, picking up my girl from, she's just getting out of jail, right? I literally had to drive that. It had to be 25 times. I mean, I'm like, I'm picking her up. Oh, when make sure the windows roll down. Make sure both windows are rolled down. Now we need to get a film of you and then a film of her. It's
Yeah.
I yeah, hats off.
No, it's real work.
Yes.
There's a lot. Most of it is not make believe. It's not.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. But it was great. I mean, I would not change it for anything in the world. It was a really like if I never got another acting job, that would be like that experience is ingrained within me now. And it was just the best experience ever.
So you definitely see yourself doing it again.
In the right, again, I'm not really like, I mean, my thing would be, I think, voiceovers, but you never say never because I never really thought about like really being in front of the screen. Like I thought voiceovers, that's a good sweet spot, but I would for the right thing, I would do it again. And again, I've seen I've seen opportunities to get like on Saturday Night Live, right? I mean, that's where I'm like,
Oh,
ooh, fingers crossed. And again, it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like it was a one line extra, but I'm like, I do that. Who doesn't want to be on Saturday Night Live, right? So it would just depend on like the opportunity, and you just never know like what you're going to see and what you might actually be selected for. So I would do it again, sure.
I know exactly how you feel, and I got to say, from experience, one of my most memorable experiences with that was actually doing some background work on Saturday Night Live.
Wow, really?
No, I was there. Yeah, I can't remember the exact year because it's all a blur, but
Mhm.
I remember the episode. It was actually an episode. I remember Keenan was outside. It was around Christmas time. And that same week, I think Beyonce just let out a music video, or just had the baby, or was just
Yeah.
about to have the baby. And it's nothing but chaos. I don't remember the whole thing, but I do remember that we had to completely in the dark with flashing lights, papers flowing everywhere. We're working in an office space, and it's apocalyptic mode. Where in the background, where it's absolutely insane and crazy.
You know what? You actually see that when they're changing out sets when Saturday Night Live, like when you're looking at it, right? You're right before they go to a commercial, you can see them, changing out sets and all that. So I can imagine the chaos, but beautiful chaos, right? I mean, who wouldn't take that
It's
opportunity?
controlled chaos is what it is. It's
Yes.
control. It is controlled
Yeah.
chaos because it's an absolute mess, but somehow it really works out.
Right. Right. And has for years, right? I mean, I don't know what year they're even in. I mean, Saturday Night Live has been around forever.
Like
Um,
40, more than that,
yeah,
40, 47 seasons. Like it's like ongoing, long running show.
never gets old either.
No, just it just gets different. I see lately because I haven't watched cable TV in forever, but like you'll see like a couple skits on Instagram or TikTok or something like that, and you'll listen to it, and the news reporters of those two guys going back and forth,
Yes.
right? They write each other's jokes, and like I honestly like I have to watch it every time. It's a showstopper.
Yes. And I love how they consistently like they push the envelope with their jokes. And I appreciate that. I mean, that keeps it like, oh my goodness, they actually said that. But
Keeps it fun. I don't know. It does keep it fun where it's like everybody's in on the joke because you know where everybody's
Mhm.
coming from. And I'm glad there's a maturity to it because like it could easily be taken the wrong way, but it's comedy. And then
Yes.
if it gets the audience to laugh, I mean, all right, go for that. They did their job.
Right. Right.
So speaking of comedy, did you ever like have sort of like a favorite genre or things that always were appealing to you that not so much you reenact, but you just truly enjoy?
You know, I'm not really like I like comedy. Like, we're talking about Saturday Night Live, and my husband and I, we like to go to comedy shows and things like that. But in terms of like really looking at it on TV, it's not really my thing. I like action, suspense thrillers, but then I just I like to be entertained when I watch a movie, right? And so if I go to like and that almost seems like a thing of the past, but because everything is on cable or streaming. But when you go to a movie theater, like, I to leave out of there and not have been thoroughly entertained and feel like that was worth the money, that's the biggest disappointment to me. So when I go, I like to be completely entertained, all the senses going, like just, and so for me, like the action, the thriller, the suspense, that's what kind of gets me. Like I like movies like that. And it spans like, it could be just a suspense thriller. I mean, like one of my favorite movies of all time is actually The Guardian. With,
Really?
yeah, with Kevin Costner.
Yeah, the swimmer, the rescuer for
Yeah,
the
that movie was just it for me. Like I probably watched that I don't know, like 10 times. Sometimes it's just on and I think, oh, that was just such a good movie. And I can pick up, and it's there for me. But then I also like anything, the whole Marvel universe, I'm with that. But then I like a good, a good Ben Affleck movie, when he, so it just ranges. But for me, at the end of the day, if somebody is not like competing or getting their butt kicked, it bores me to a large extent. I don't like to like really sit in movies and cry and be kind of weepy. And so, those are romantic comedies or rom-coms, things, it's okay. But I like action. Somebody has to be, there's a chase, some assassins, somebody, that's me.
How about like The Last Samurai? Did you ever watch that?
I did watch that and I like that. I liked it. That's more my speed. I just gotta have that. Also, but then I also like a good movie was what is the one that had Jason Statham?
The Transporter?
Yeah, I like The Transporter, just, movies like that where, kind of the spy and just the getting rid of the bad guys, but you're halfway crooked yourself. I mean, all that is just, for me, the more, the better.
So like the Fast and the Furious type of films where it was up and just like really like epic, things like that.
Yeah, I do like the Fast and Furious, like the whole, I mean, they've gone on for a long time now.
We got like 10
And
movies.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes I think that it's just kind of like good to end on a high note.
Oh yeah. Like
Like you don't just keep going because you can, and then, but it's a mixed bag because, sometimes people get mad. Like, for example, speaking of Kevin Costner, like, Yellowstone. I
oh
love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Great
I
show.
absolutely love that show, right?
Yeah,
I love it.
I did. I
And
watched 1883 and then all of a
yeah,
sudden like oh wait, this is the prequel to Yellowstone. And then I watched 1923 and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This is a great show. And then I watched Yellowstone and 5 seasons later, the guy's governor. And I'm like, yo, Jamie, bro, you're doing that actor. He's phenomenal.
yes,
I want to punch that guy in the face, but oh my
right.
God. How come he wasn't like, how come somebody didn't try to blow him up?
Right, right. See, and a person is doing a good job when you really hate them as a villain, right? It's
Facts. No, for me, it's really hard because I'm not really good at remembering the names. But I've seen Usual Suspects, so it's like, oh wait, is that the guy from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? Yeah. And then when I saw a consistency of good work where I enjoyed them, all of a sudden, then I'm starting to remember their name and kind of just like separating all the work that they've done.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and one of my favorite characters, in addition, of course, to Kevin Costner in Yellowstone, is Rip. Like, see, his character,
Oh,
he's the husband.
Right. He accidentally killed the guy, yada yada, long story, spoiler alert.
Right, right. Yeah,
the guy's got a strong punch. So I mean but he's a cowboy. Sorry, it's not murder, technically.
Not back then, right? No, you're good.
No, but yeah, no, I do. I like that actor a lot. I'm trying to think of him in another movie that I saw because he did get a little bit heavier because he actually did work, I think, on Good Will Hunting with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, because you're right. He looks different now. He's darkened his hair.
Yeah, that's the same. Yeah. I'm almost 100% sure that's the same actor. And forgive me, I got a horrible memory because there's too much in here. Like I don't have. I'm not hooked up to the cloud. I just try to remember what I can.
I know, right? That's what we need, a cloud, right? I download those memories because it starts to go, right?
It's going to happen. Watch, we're probably technologically already at that point where it's like, who wants to volunteer? And then you get hacked. Great. But no,
Yeah.
this is actually really cool. And but what about actually like maybe performing in a play, to kind of just sharpen the actor skill? Because there's a saying in the industry where if you want to get rich, you got to do TV. If you want to become famous, do a movie. But if you want to get good, you got to do a play.
Interesting. Now that's something that I have actually never considered.
Come on, you just said you were a great reader. You're good in being in front of people. And then like this is voice where your voice actually has to hit the back of the room.
See, maybe, because I don't know, that is just like something that has never really occurred to me. And honestly, like, so if I'm being 100%, like for either of them, none of them is like, I want to be famous or I'm at a stage in my life where it's just kind of like, I just want to do something that I really get a lot of enjoyment out of. Like, and this is kind of like this, a whole new chapter of that. And maybe, I guess I'm not opposed to a play. I just never, when I'm looking and looking at opportunities, plays they're not like kind of on the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I'm not ruling anything out.
Once you get bit by that bug, fair warning, it's going to give you some sort of an emotional high to the point where it's not addicting, but you're going to love it. Like, no, you will, especially when it's over and you hear the applause. It's like, once you hear that and you feel that wave of energy, that's real. It's amazing.
Is that your preference?
That was my beginning. To your point, like you never say never. Oh my gosh, Miss Anna, if you saw my old website, if you'd like, I'll share it with you later. But if you saw my resume, and I just tell you, like when I actually stopped contributing to that, it's stupid long. It is. No, it really is. Because when I first started, like my background was in construction. I went to plumbing school in high school. I was an iron worker out of high school. I worked before even going to college. And the only reason I went to college was because I needed healthcare. And that was it. That was back in 2008, 2009. But I was a business major at the time, so I wanted to just like maybe feel comfortable talking in front of people. So the only opportunity at the time was doing a play, but it wasn't a play. It was actually a musical. And I'm like, why not? So I did. I did my first musical when I was 21. It was called Honk Jr. I played a duck. I've pretty much been doing it ever since.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Welcome to Happy Corner. This project strives to make safe housing areas for stray cats at an affordable price. It's so easy to put together that even your children could have fun making one. Help keep cats and other animals safe with their own little Happy Corner homes. You can help this project become a reality by donating to the GoFundMe page. Happy Corner homes are a great way to show those animals in need it's okay to be happy.
See, but how did you transition to where you are now? What you're doing now?
It was kind of organic, with a lot of panic, because when you're married, and I don't know how most men feel about being married, an actor, and it's like, what do you do to actually be a man and provide for your family and have that contributing protective factor that you could contribute and support the family while doing like what you're called to do. Because I've quit this so many times. I've given this up so many times, saying like it's not realistic. You can't survive doing this. So back in 2000, early 2019, my cousin reaches out to me saying, "Hey, a friend of hers from high school is looking for an actor. I got the part." And it really hit me hard because for the amount of pay I was getting, it was only covering the gas and tolls just to do the job. And I took time off work, and I'm like, I'm a horrible husband. And I'm enjoying the show. I'm enjoying the work, but at the same time, I was upset that it's not enough. So while I was on set, it just occurred to me saying, because I'm seeing all these young kids really going after it and trying, and they're actually doing it. And if it costs them $1,000, $5,000, or $10,000 to do a film of any measure, it just really hit me saying, there's no reason I cannot. So I didn't know how to begin that part of the journey other than to just what I did? I got back to basics, where I said, I never did any of this stuff in high school or before college. So I just thought of drama club, because when I was a business major, I became president of the business club, as well as simultaneously that same year, treasurer of the drama club. And I always aspired to maybe produce or direct someday. So why not start a filmmaking club? And I'm like, okay. And then I lived in Astoria, as you can see, and it's the Astoria Filmmakers Club. And you share that idea with a few people saying are you a club or are you a collective? And it's
all right.
Yeah, shut up. So things like that. So honestly, it was all I did was invite people to dinner, because the majority of the people in the industry, I didn't know it when I first got to Astoria, that people in the industry live in Astoria, Queens, but nobody knows each other. And I'm living there for almost 5 full years at that time. And it's I don't know a single person in the neighborhood. I don't know my neighbors very well. And it's I grew up in the suburbs, Orange County, and it's we all knew each other. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to feel that again. So I literally invited everybody out for drinks and dinner every Wednesday night, and having a nonprofit on the table was the most likely and was the best option, I thought, at the time, because none of us would actually legally own it. It would belong to everybody. And I have such a strong church background where it's well, if these guys could talk for an hour, I definitely could talk for an hour. So we would basically just promote all the work that all these people are doing and provide grants for them. So about a year later, during the pandemic, we got our 501c3 approval. It was very fast. It was very quick. And just to get through the pandemic and save up, we got registered with the New York State Bureau, New York State Charities Bureau. So we're pretty legitimate, and we've done taxes twice. So we're on our way. And
that makes you legit, right?
Yeah, it's just we're not legit, but we're too legit to quit. But you'd be surprised, because it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, because I never really consistently always done this for the money, because it's never been there for me ever, never, not once. And the only time I ever really got paid to do this was when I was trying to get fired. And that's a story that I told on another podcast. But basically, I said a line in the middle of a scene when I wasn't supposed to, but the director loved it, and I got a raise.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. It was just my luck. I'm when I try to and believe me when I say this, God is my witness. I've quit this job so many times until it just got to the point saying, why, if I give it my absolute 100%, absolute best, no excuses, what would it look like? And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. So I did. And when I made that commitment, we produced the Triborough Film Festival, Battle of the Boroughs Film Festival, exclusive for the New York City filmmaker storyteller, or if it's set in New York City, it could be a part of the festival. And now we actually put ourselves into a landmark cornerstone position in the industry without invitation. And now we're really a part of it. It's got so much potential of programs to grow, but that's honestly, and podcasting is just one of those things to just share everybody's story. And you never know. I've never gotten called for a work because, hey, you're that guy from the podcast. No, but for me, it's it's me getting back to basics on those Wednesday nights where I'm actually meeting one-on-one, having a beer, eating dinner, just getting to know the person across from me,
Excellent. I love that story.
That was a
Um,
short version.
oh, I bet. Right. I bet. You know,
Stay tuned to the podcast because you're going to get a lot of little bits and pieces of the whole puzzle.
yeah, yeah. That's the great thing I think too about like your own podcast, right? You are able to kind of incorporate your journey into whatever just through talking to people, right?
Sure. I mean, it's no secret. Like, I Googled myself for the first time back in like 2012 and I was there. So like there's,
Okay.
but I look back on all that stuff and I never had any idea that ever I would incorporate, the passion I found from college into my business major at the time, then to liberal arts, then to conservatory training, and then legit acting school training, being burnt out and being like barbecue, like you're toast, emotionally completely shot. And now you run a nonprofit in the state of New York.
Major props.
Thank you. No, it's a lot of I got sweat equity, but that's about it.
That reminds me too of, before I started like with the voiceover interest, and it's still like this kind of thing that's in the back of my mind, but I just, like you said about being burned out, a podcast. So my daughter and I have looked at like, what would a podcast look like? What could we bring to the table that would be different? We're still ruminating with that idea, but also, they take work.
Sure.
I mean, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna put that one on the back burner for a sec.
I got a microphone that was a gift, but I'm not ready to play with it. So I just figured stick with Zoom and what I know until I get a podcast producer across from me to give me some assistance in the one-day studio,
But this forum works, right? I mean,
Well, you never
why
know.
mess with that?
No, and honestly, like once you get past the 100 episode mark, you're actually you're in the top 5% of podcasting right there. You really are. So the one thing that I've learned in acting school, which you'll probably experience if you continue education, you're never not doing something when you're on stage or acting. So one tool that they have you do in anything when you're performing is called an independent activity. And there's a lot of podcasts where it's just sitting down and talking, where people might be experiencing food, or if you got a really good talk show studio like the Red Table with the Smith family, little things like that. But, they have real conversations with some experts in their field for the most part. But I always recommend what is that one thing that's not a tick, but that one thing that you do that you're constantly doing for an independent activity. And as a woman, I just see like it could be something silly where you're scrapbook podcasting or something like that, or it's about a subject matter and having a conversation where you don't have to cook food, you don't have to fold laundry, but there's some sort of appealing activity that gets you out of your head where you're totally listening to the conversation, but you have this action going on that ties it all together because everybody's experiencing the exact same thing while talking about whatever the subject might be.
Seeds of wisdom. I like that.
I didn't get these gray hairs just by, just by living life. I've been through
right.
it. No,
yeah.
Really.
It's like a passion project for you too, right? I mean, this is what this really is like.
The worst thing that I did was try to dissolve the nonprofit because that was like I was draining a part of myself and just like really folding up the towel. There was at a point where I just didn't believe and I didn't want to believe anymore. I was done. When I say burnt out, that was it. Like it was just like doing too much, not enough, or just being impatient. It was a lot of different things. But when I started doing it again, then all of a sudden it's like I started watering the roots, and all of a sudden one season passes, and next thing you know, you're starting to bloom.
I can identify with that because when you talk about like being burnt out, so, I spoke earlier about like I had self-published some books, And
That's right.
that was my, like, I don't want to say I thought was, but it was my like true passion. And I mean, I did, my husband and I, we had these books printed up, I had editors, because I had shopped trying to get an agent and trying to go the traditional route.
Sure.
I'm telling you, I probably was steady at that for like 2 years before my husband was like, look, let's just put it out ourselves and see what happens. So did that. We put together my own tour. We went to the Javits Center, with some other authors. Just did an LA circuit, then a Bay Area circuit. Got some good feedback and responses, and just your own kind of core group that's always kind of rooting for you regardless. I call that the unobjective group, because they anything you do, they're going to be like, yeah, but just good. But then all of a sudden, like from the bookstores, we were going out like we were literally like a political campaign. Like we were going in making deals with the independent booksellers and so forth. And then all of a sudden, like they weren't selling the books. And so then they started returning them.
That happened to Dr. Brene Brown. And when they first did their first book, and it's like you have 4,000 books that they just have to, shred now because they can't move them.
Exactly.
Oh, damn.
That was like one of those things where it's just like, you just kind of have that punch crack. It's like, oof. I don't want to keep, what do they say? Doing something over and over again is insanity. It was just like, because so much went into that. So we poured like so much into that, and not just like financially, but just time, effort, like weekends gone, like, really trying to promote. And it was just like, no, I'm going to have to pivot away from that. So literally it has been like a hiatus it's been about 15 years, and some parts of me are like, some of my author friends, like they've been putting out books, like probably every 2 years. One of my good author friends, her name is Donna Hill. She has a book that's about to get made into a movie. And and then those embers are kind of like, oh, but it is, I've been there, and it's just kind of like I understand that it just doesn't work like that for everybody. And it's just like, my mom even was like, are you going to start writing again? And I'm just like, I don't know, I don't know. And at this point now that I found kind of like, unless there's an opportunity, because, we started out by saying never say never, but unless there's an opportunity where it just makes sense, with these other opportunities, probably not. But, but that was a part of the whole, I think, the artistry, that kind of got me probably to where I am now. But it's just, that was just so hard, and it was so defeating. When those started coming back, we were like, our garage half filled with books. It was like,
a lot of insulation, huh?
Yes.
So what happened? Can Anna, or should I actually say, Miss Dennis? What is your book about? Like, so what's the book?
So actually, there were two, and then there was a compilation with the friend that I mentioned, Donna Hill. So the first book is called Who Will Hear My Screams? And that was loosely based off of, it was like my take on, do you remember the movie Misery?
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Okay. Yeah.
God bless James Caan, God rest his soul.
Yes.
Playhouse alumni.
Right. So it was kind of my spin on that. Like it was that book, but it had different components, like, obviously different characters, but it was literally where a fan, and the fan was a male fan. He was a male, and the person, so it was a reverse. So, she was kind of like this aspiring author and speaker, and she had gotten a big platform. She was kidnapped, not necessarily tortured, but kidnapped by this fan, and then kind of rescued by police and her husband and so forth. And so that was kind of the premise on that. But I kind of put in some components like, some suspense and action because I like that in there. So that was kind of the premise on that. The second one was called The Purest of Pain. And that was kind of my homage to like 9/11.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was with, but it was from a fictional standpoint, obviously, but with characters who kind of like how they experienced 9/11 and how it brought them closer because they were kind of like having problems in their marriage before. But as a result of 9/11 and literally them witnessing, some of the stuff that they kind of that we had to see over and over again on the news, people jumping out of buildings, and the plane and all of that. But just how that brought them closer together as a unit, and just kind of how they survived that trauma.
Were they
and then
in New York at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So were those two characters the Misery of Pain, or were they living in New York?
The Purest of Pain, yes, they were.
Purest of Pain.
They were living in New York. Yeah. The first one was kind of more Bay Area, but not any place specific, more like San Francisco Bay Area, but not really a specific place. But again, brought in components of like San Francisco and Napa and some of the places, that people are, known to visit out here. So, yeah. And then the third was called On the Line. That was a compilation. It was myself and about 8 other authors. Yeah. It was
I don't mean to laugh because when I was at work a few weeks ago, we were talking about like when Vince Vaughn joins the Google team and with Owen Wilson, they just kept saying, it's really called Online, but it's like, no, we could put it on the line.
Right. Yeah.
That just triggered a memory. I'm not laughing, especially after those 2 good descriptions of your book. What's the third? I'm sorry. On the Line. I'm with you.
On the Line, but that one was actually put out by Donna Hill, and then it was, collaboratively, there were like 7 other authors, and the concept of that was a radio DJ, female radio DJ, and it was each chapter was like the story of a caller who called in. So mine was one of the stories of a caller who called in, and she's a DJ, but she's also kind of like, listening and giving feedback, how kind of a shock jock would do. So yeah, that was more fun and lighthearted kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, so, I have that writing experience under my belt, but it's I guess you don't get that instant gratification, and it's, unless you're already out there and established, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm putting out another book. But now like putting out another book is just like, I don't know what that would look like,
Well, honestly, do a play. You'd be surprised. Like I didn't know that I could write until I became an actor, and I actually said thank you to your 9/11 book because I wrote a pilot called Fireland, which is about the New York City Fire Department during the 1990s. That's more of an homage to my dad and all of his friends.
Yeah,
because he's a 9/11 first responder. But I remember quite vividly when I just got triggered with this ridiculous amount of inspiration for things that I wrote throughout college. And it was like a waterfall. It was like a dam broke, and it was so wacko. We literally it was on 3/6/9. It was March 6th of 2009. And we just finished watching I think it was The Watcher, the Watchmen, when superhero movies were kind of like really, really making a presence, because Iron Man had just come out not too long before, and then we got The Watchmen and all that. But at some point, I don't remember what it was that triggered, but whatever happened in the movie all of a sudden just unlocked something. And then basically the garage that was stuffed just poured out into the driveway. And I've been pulling from little things that I wrote down that night. Oh, that'd be a good name of a show. That'd be a good name of a movie, a book, blah, 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 blah. And I kept that list. And those are what's kind of like kind of keeping me involved in writing today. But once you do a play and you body it and you unlock something in your body, get ready, because it'll come out.
So do you think that writing a play is easier than writing a book?
Can't say. There is a different style. I dabbled in writing my first book right after college. It was called There Goes the Neighborhood. And that actually, like the name There Goes the Neighborhood, literally, it's not that cliche expression where there goes the neighborhood really comes from. Right. I just remember one time on that night of 369, There Goes the Neighborhood was actually one of those things I wrote down. Maybe I'm a psychic. I don't know. I'm still learning about myself. But I made the connection of There Goes the Neighborhood when I actually did my last year of schooling and education to the Neighborhood Playhouse. Also, James Caan went there. That's why I said shout out. But I didn't really write that much up until that point, but I really got into it more and more that year in 2011 and 12. And the most devastating thing of going to the Neighborhood Playhouse is why I wasn't accepted back for a second year. Because I did well, but so when I look back on it, it was like, did I do well enough not to need the training anymore? Or did I really just want to feel that sense of accomplishment that I'm a college graduate, because I'm not. I failed or didn't get accepted into 3 colleges. And I remember that was devastating because I was the first person in the door. So between writing the plays that I tried and the pilot or a feature film, especially the novel, I'll call it a novel, completely different. So completely different. And it really helps to have an editor or somebody just kind of chronologically let you know of whatever mistake you might made. For me, when I talk and I hear something in my head, I cannot personally articulate style in a book form. I'm horrible at that. I was a special ed student my whole life when it came to English. Spelling was my strong suit, but not anymore. Believe me when I say that. So I just, I stick to my lane, and sometimes I'll just talk and have somebody write it down with me and be like, oh, this here, same exact meaning, but a totally different format. Or they'll introduce it with a line of describing what the scenery looks like in a novel form before they actually say, he said this, she said that. These little details, it's a different art form. It's not a matter of difficulty. It's just a completely different art. But when you did say the misery of pain, I learned it wrong. I'm sorry, not the misery of pain. What was it?
Purest of pain.
The purest of pain. All right. I learned it wrong. All right, fixed. Hopefully. All right, the purest of pain. Did I say that right?
Yes,
all right.
You did.
So I got to say, honestly, that sounds like a play already, right? In the beginning. And if it does revolve around a relationship between 2 people with a serious, impactful world historic event such as 9/11, you got some room to play with where you could literally tell a story. You already have all the material, but I guess it's really just a matter of picking and choosing scenes that move the story forward to find the conclusion of the story, which you already have. I think the biggest challenge that you might actually enjoy is converting it into a play. Could have make it for the stage, because something like that for a relationship, it could all be set at home.
Yeah.
You have one set, you got the TV, and you got 2 people trying to find a way.
You know what? That's probably like the realest feedback and information regarding that I have probably ever received. So, and I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, that is invaluable. Thank you.
I think you'll have a lot of fun doing it, and it's not hard. It's not. It's not as hard as you think. You'll probably learn from writing in a different style of storytelling to actually contribute to your next story. Because then, you know how you can learn. I guess like when you're dancing, you can learn the tango, but there's certain moves that you could actually evolve and contribute it into a swing move, and then it's really just a different tempo. But then all of a sudden you got freestyle, and then you combine the two.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you so much for that. It brings that seed a little bit further toward the frontal lobe than it's being back here. So thank you for that.
100%. I'm like, I guess before we wrap things up, if anybody wants to like see your work or maybe even find the book, do you have a website where people could find you?
They're all available on Amazon. And if you Google, Amazon is where they all are available. So because the website that I had where I was selling them, again, that was 15 years ago or more. So no, I'm pivoting, and who knows, in the future, maybe you'll see The Purest of Pain as a play.
Once you get bit by that bug, I'm telling you, because there's a lot of actors that want to do material in festivals that they produce and showcase your work for you. They're everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? I'll say this too. One thing too is like how you can expand your field of like influence and just possibilities. Like, this platform, now you are someone who I know, right? But even with the film that I did, those are like 10 people who were like the set, the producers, the actors that I didn't know, a month ago. And so you never know where things are going to take you. And so like, this is a really wonderful time. And, after being on set all day yesterday and having this, I couldn't think of a better time to come on here and kind of talk about the plateau of where things are going. So the timing was beautiful, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, the bottom of one mountain was only the top of the previous one. So all you got to do is just keep climbing.
Thanks.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Yeah, I can't wait to see that film that they're, I guess, got in post right now. Please stay in touch. We're going to get this all over Instagram and YouTube, and we're going to have you back someday. I know it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Ciao for now.
Okay, take care.